Hi, my name is Ardo, and I'm the Kids Coordinator at the Festival of Literary Diversity, also known as the Fold. And today I am back to talk about the Fold Kids Book of the Month picks, but this time for the month of February. So every month I pick one picture book or one book for either the middle grade or young adult readers. And what we do is we tend to focus on Canadian kid-lit authors from marginalized backgrounds. This month, our picks are Idia of the Benin Kingdom by Ekiuwa Aire, with illustrations by Alina Shabelnyk, and The Chandler Legacies by Abdi Nazemian. Idia of the Benin Kingdom is a picture book that takes place in the 1500s in ancient Benin, which is located in Africa. It follows a little girl by the name of Idia who is the daughter of a village warrior, and we watch her as she grows up to become the queen of the Benin Kingdom. As an adult ruler, she rules with, wisdom, charisma, and prowess. And in fact, she's actually based on a real person. Queen of Idia is definitely a real person whose stories of bravery have been written about quite a bit, and who has artifacts with her face on it in museums all over the world, which is very exciting. Written by Ekiuwa Aire, who is an award-winning author born and raised in Nigeria and now calls Ontario home. She is passionate about sharing positive stories on African history with children, which led to the creation of Our Ancestors. And at Our Ancestors is where you can find not just a copy of Idia of the Benin Kingdom, but as well as another picture book and fun goodies such as free worksheets. So why was Idia of the Benin Kingdom chosen for Fold Kids Book of the Month? Well, it's quite simply, first off, let's just point out the fact that this is a self-published book, and it's the first self-published book that's actually made it onto the Fold Kids Book of the Month list, which is very exciting. Definitely go out and support this self-published author. The main reason, though, is the fact that it's a really great story for kids that lets them know about this African historical figure from this particular time frame, which is like ancient times, and from an area that we don't see a lot of in our picture books, so Africa, the continent of Africa, which is important to point out that Africa has many countries of rich histories and cultures, and so being able to see just a snapshot of the many that exist in Africa is really cool. It has all the hallmarks of a really great girl power story of Idia, who is a very much well-rounded woman and little girl, and the journey of becoming a leader, who also seems to be very well-rounded. And finally, we have Alina Shabelnyk's art, which visually brings the Benin Kingdom to life with rich colors, rich warm colors in this kind of paint style or method that was being used. So these are all great reasons as to why you should pick up Idia of the Benin Kingdom. So if you haven't already, get yourself a copy. The other pick for this month is The Chandler Legacies, which is a young adult novel about 5 teens in 1999 who attend an elite boarding school called Chandler. So we have Beth, who is the townie, and returns as a sophomore after a year of tension between herself and her roommate. However, for Sarah, there was more to that story. Then we have Spence, who is the daughter of New York elites, and it comes to the realization that her family name actually shielded her from the same fate that Sarah suffered. Then you have Rahmin, who is new to Chandler after transferring from Iran for being queer, and he is unfortunately thrust into brutal hazing that is under the guise of tradition in the boys' dorm. And finally, we have Freddie, who is a senior, and he is unsure of what his future may hold, but what he does know is that he needs to stand up to his friends after what they've done to Rahmin. So all 5 teens are brought together by this something called the Circle, which is a coveted writing group where life-changing friendships are made, but also secrets are revealed. Professor Douglas tells them to write the truth, but the truth is the truth enough to change the culture of abuse that's happening at Chandler? And more importantly, can their friendships survive the fallout? The book is written by Abdi Nazemian, who is the author of 2 books, Like a Love Story, which is a Stonewall honor book, as well as The Authentics. He is also a screenwriter and producer of film and television. So why was the Chandler Legacy selected as a Fold Kids Book of the Month pick? Nazemian does a fantastic job of writing teens, especially the internal angst that they feel as they're becoming adults. Especially when it's in the context of finding themselves up against the status quo of institutions like schools. Those teen years are really interesting because it's figuring out not only who you are, but also where you fit in the larger context of the world, and also realizing that the world is also incredibly unjust and that institutions can be incredibly unjust. However, it's also the time of your life, especially if you start both in your teen years and in those early young adult years, and 19 to 20s, 21 age, where it's also probably the most optimistic point in one's life, in the belief that you can actually make a change, which is very exciting to see how that all shakes out in this book. In this book, the writing acts as both a way to process these intense feelings I had mentioned, but also as a way to fight for a better world. And the workshop element of it is really great, a way to highlight that in the book, and also offer some really great tips on writing and approaches to writing, especially in terms of the different types of teens who find their way into writing. Because you have Freddie, who is the jock of the group, up against someone like Spence, who is a thespian actress, someone very interested in the arts, but wants to use writing as a way to create her own roles, for example. And it leads into my last reason, which is in terms of why you should read this book. It uses these 5 teens to explore the intersection of class, race, and sexuality. These conversations are being had with different types of privileges and marginalizations happening all at the same time, which I think is handled really well. And for educators who want to use this book in the classroom, I can easily see this book working in a creative craft type of section in maybe English class, but also on any courses or classes that look at social issues. I think this book does a really good job of finding that fun entryway into those topics. Or even in a civics class in terms of, civic engagement. Because I think, especially for teens, wanting to make your school a better place can easily translate into making the wider world a better place. So yeah, you should definitely add this book to your to-read pile. Thank you so much for watching. You can find the Fold Kids Book of the Month picks over at thefoldcanada.org/kids/book of the month. You can also find the previous book picks there, including January's pick. There is a video, so check that out. You can also like this video and subscribe to this channel to see more content like this one. And finally, you can follow us on social media, whether it's Instagram and Twitter at Fold Kids, or over at Facebook at Fold Kids with a Z. Until next time, see you later.